Erev Tov Shalom Aleichem. We're going to learn B'ezrat Hashem Zera Shimshon on Parashat Ki Tavo. Drush Vav. This Parashat talks about the curses, 98 klalot. But before we make a big deal about the curses, people forget there's also berachot. There's also a few berachot before the curses are mentioned. And a lot of the berachot and the curses, they are mirrors of each other. And the Zera Shimshon wants to analyze one of them and wants to figure out why they're written the way they're written. So he says like this. In the section of the berachot, which just comes right before the curses, it says, Baruch pri vitnecha ufri admatecha. Blessed are going to be the fruits of your belly, meaning your children. They come from your wife's belly. Ufri admatecha, and the fruits of the ground, of your field, will be blessed if you do God's will. And in the next bracha after that it says, Baruch tan'acha umish'atecha. Blessed is going to be your baskets. Tan'acha is basically the basket they would collect the fruits in. Right, the very beginning of the parasha speaks about the mitzvah of bikurim, bringing the first fruits. It only applied to the 7 fruits of Israel, right? Which are wheat, barley, pomegranates, figs, dates, olives, grapes. When those fruits that grew in Israel would first ripen, they would designate them by putting a special wrap around them and saying this is going to be for bikurim, and they would bring those to the Beit HaMikdash as a very special mitzvah. And it has to be brought in a special basket. It's called also tene, special basket. That it was very glorified. This were weaver, I don't know what the word in English is. It's like a wicker basket, woven wicker basket, I believe. They would bring the special basket, and these baskets are going to be blessed, says the Torah, if you do God's will. When it comes to the curses, however, it's the mirror opposite. What does it say? Arur, cursed will be tan'acha umishartecha, your baskets. And after that it says, Arur pri bitnecha, cursed will be the fruit of your bellies. So the question he wants to ask, lama hipecha seder, why did the Torah switch the order? By the blessings it says, blessed will be the fruits and then the baskets. By the curses it says, cursed will be the baskets and then the fruits. Why flip the order? Keep it consistent. You can answer, says the Zera Shimshon, the Torah did everything correct. The Torah knows what it's doing. It has a very important direction of where it's going, why it put this order. Why? Because it says in Masechet Nida, Lamed Aleph Mud Bet, Amrinan, Ba Zachar La'olam, if a child, a male, boy, comes to the world, is born, Ba Kikaro Biyado, his loaf of bread comes with him. Mazal. Exactly. The mazal that's going to support and sustain this child will come along with him. That's why people have a problem. People say, I can't have enough kids. Listen, tuition, every kid is $10,000, $15,000 a year. I don't know if I can handle it. You don't understand. The Gemara is guaranteeing. When the kid comes, the special window, his special mazal that's filtering into your house opens up with him. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has it covered. People go nuts when you talk to people, non-Jews, and you tell them about our culture, about the fact that we have a very specific needs for our culture and our community. We have to have a mikveh nearby. We have to have kosher food, kosher restaurants, yeshivot. All these things cost a lot of money. You ask him. He asks you how much he buys, how much money you spend on meat. It's probably double or triple what he spends on meat, on tuition and all these things. But nevertheless, we get it done. Not only do we get it done, we excel. We exceed beyond them, and they're thinking, how do these people do this? It's not us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings the mazal for every effort of mitzvah that you make. HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends the mazal. It says over here in the Gemara, when the male comes, his loaf of bread, so to speak, Parashat comes with him. Then the Gemara continues and it says, Nekeva. However, if a girl comes, again, just listen to the Gemara, we'll explain. There's no sex thing over here. We're just explaining the Gemara, the words of the Torah, everything has a purpose here. When a girl comes, Niki'a ba'a. She comes Niki'a. The word Niki'a means clean, meaning cleaned out, so to speak, empty, not necessarily bringing along the mazal. Says the Gemara. Not necessarily. Zachar, male, a boy does, Niki'a, she comes clean, so to speak, empty. so to speak. Let's see what it means. Ad amram mezoneh, and she doesn't get mezonot parnasa pretty much for her life, for livelihood, until she prays for it. She has to pray to Rosh Baruch Hu specifically to unlock it for her. Lo ya'bila, it will not be given to her until she prays for it, says the Gemara. Parashat Marasha, the Marasha, again, the word nekiya, clean, is very similarly related to the word nekeva, which means female. And those words, zachar, nekeva, male and female, have very, very deep meanings and explanations behind them, which we'll get to. Parashat Marasha, the Marasha, a very important commentary on the Gemara, he explains over here on this part of the Gemara, everything's connected to mazal, like you said, connected to the constellations, to special, predestined aspects of a person's life.
What star they're born under?
Yes, right. Each month has its own mazal, its own constellation in the sky that appears. But let's see what it says here.
We're in the mermaid now, with Virgo.
Yes, right now is Elul, the Virgo. Says the Marasha, the Baki Karob Yado, when the Gemara says that when a male is born, his loaf comes with him, his bread comes with him. Dainu mazalo, it means it's mazal. Ben lera, ben letov. Whether it's for good, whether it's for bad. Shemazalah talui b'mazal aviyah uva'ala. I'm sorry, I skipped something. Unekeva illa mazal. A woman, however, does not have the same mazal power. Unekiya ba'a below mazal. She comes with an empty, cleaned out mazal, so to speak. Shemazalah talui b'mazal aviyah uva'ala. Because her mazal, the woman, the girl's mazal, is dependent on the males around her, on her father, on her husband. Uvesof Kiddushin, and it says further, Masechet Kiddushin. So before we get to Kiddushin, from Nidam, this Gemara Masechet, what do we learn? The main point we learn here is that the boys bring bracha along with them. And the depth behind this is the word zachar, male, is the same gematria as beracha. Beracha is the sustenance, the flow, the energy input that we need from Shemaim to survive and continue. That's beracha. So you felt my question. Zera Shimshon doesn't ask that question. I asked this question, but Zera Shimshon Sof Tavar, I'll address that question. Very, very astute. But the word zachar is the same gematria as beracha, as we said, and the word nekeva, which means female, is the same gematria as the word kilala, the opposite of bracha. Now again, this needs to be explained, and it will be explained. So it doesn't mean girls are bad. Chas v'shalom, we love women. We'll see. It all makes sense in the end. B'ezrat Hashem. U'v'sof Kiddushin, the end of Masechet Kiddushin, it says like this: Aminan ashrei mi shebanav zecharim. Fortunate is the one whose sons are men. Ve'oy lo lemi shebanav nekevot. And unfortunate is the one to the person whose kids are females. Girls. Now, really, if you could change the words here a little bit, you could apply it to nowadays. Because nowadays we have a huge, gender ideology problem where people are confused on what they are. So you could read it into the Gemara over here, and you could say, woe is it to who? Lemishe banav nekevot, to one who his sons are girls, are girly. Not that his children are. Banav can mean children, or it can mean sons.
No, they're not men.
They're not exactly.
They're not alpha males.
Yes, and there is an attack on masculinity from the lefty political views right now, which is a big problem.
Because Satan is female and male. That's why.
Exactly.
He's androgynous.
Right. So you can even see that hinted. You can read the Gemara that way. So anyway, based on this again, you see the point is that the bracha comes from the females, from the males. Excuse me, and that's why the Gemara praises one who has many sons. Based on this, when it comes to the berachot now in our question in our Parashat Tavo, excuse me. The point is, when the baracha says in the Torah that blessed is going to be your children, the fruits of your bellies, it's talking about that you should have sons. That's why when it comes to the blessings, the first thing it mentions is blessed are going to be the fruit of your belly, which means your sons, your children that come from you. That they should be boys. And then by way of that, since we see that the boys bring the mazal into the house, into the family, if you have many boys, they're going to bring mazal and good fortune to your family. And then as a result, the next verse comes along and says, your baskets will be blessed, which means your parnasah, your livelihood, your money, your businesses will be blessed and fill up your baskets. Exactly. But when it comes to the curses, the order of the verses was reversed. It said, the reverse. The first thing it says is cursed is going to be your baskets. No parnasah. ולעולם יתקיים בו זה המזל רע, לפי שבניו יהיו נקבות, ותהיינה תלויות במזל רע שלו, וזה ארור פרי בטנך. And the whole point is because he's not going to have children, he's not going to have boys. Since he doesn't have boys, his baskets will be blessed, and as a result, then the next verse after that says, cursed are going to be your baskets. Cursed are going to be your children. Why? Because your children are all females who don't bring along the barakah. You have all girls who don't bring along the barakah with them. That's the point.
That's contrary to getting married to a woman, because a woman brings barakah.
So I will explain that towards the end. I'll get that. Yeah. Another way you can explain it, says the Zera Shimshon, the Arminan b'Ketubot, that says in Masechet Ketubot, page 103a. Very interesting case over there. Yes, it is. 103 was today? It wasn't 103. Yeah. It says over there, very interesting case. So, if you have a widow, right, her husband passed away, and she had a ketubah from her late husband, and in the ketubah, there's a guarantee, a financial guarantee of support for the woman if the husband were to die or if he were to divorce her. So in this case, he died. And she needs to get paid from the husband's estate, so and so amount every month for her, or every depends how they broke it down, every X amount of time for her mezonot, for her upkeep, for her livelihood. But this woman says, I cannot leave my father's house, which means after her husband died, she went back to live with her father, but she has children, or her husband had children, and they want her to come live with them, so she could help around the house, and they need a woman in the house. She says, no, I'm going back to my father, she lives by him. In this case, is she still entitled to receive her ketubah payments? Her mezonot payments of the ketubah. Says the Gemara, the yorshim, which means the inheritors of the dead father, his sons, they're able to say to her, that could be their mother, it could be their father's wife, the stepmother. They could say to her, Im atetzlenu, if you choose to live with us, yesh lich mezonot. We will pay your mezonot, because they inherited the estate. We will pay from the estate, what the ketubah guaranteed to you, your payments. Im enat etzlenu, but if you choose not to live with us, en lich mezonot, then no game, no deal, you get nothing from us.
She doesn't get anything from her husband's death?
So there's different payments in the ketubah. The payment that we're talking about now specifically is the mezonot payment, which means sustenance, which means enough for her food, basically.
Now, in case of Almana, you said.
Yeah, this is very case.
Doesn't want to take care of the kids.
If she doesn't want to live with them,
the kids can withhold her.
The kids could give her a choice, give her ultimatum. Yes.
Her husband,
no?
A wife does not inherit her husband?
No, absolutely not. The children inherit the husband. She gets no inheritance. She gets guaranteed ketubah payments. But women don't get inheritance if there's other people. If there's a son, there's uncle, they get it first. The husband can give her gifts before he dies. That's fine. I'm talking about actual strictly inheritance now, right? There's different classifications of assets based on how it's broken down. If he says, I want to give you a gift, he can give it before he dies. But here he didn't do that. So in this case, they can give her a choice. If you want to live with us, you get your payments. You don't want to live with us, you don't get your payments. The Gemara asks a question over there. That's why. Let them have to pay her, even if she wants to live with her father. Why do they have to force her to live back with them in order for them to pay her? Let her get paid where she's at in her father's house. The Gemara answers, Amar Rav Huna said, Birkat bayit merubeh. When there's more people in the house, there's more barakah in the house. They want her by him. They want their mother/stepmother by them, with the inheritors, to live with them in order to increase the barakah in the house. Rashi explains over there, Mazalat derabim adif. The mazal of the many, when you combine many people's mazal together, it's better, it's stronger. That's why they want her by him, by them. If so, when there's a lot of them in the house, there's more baracha in the house. Which means even though when they're a small number, they still have some baracha. Even so, when they're more in number, there's more baracha according to the people. Therefore, that's why in our parasha, when it says first the baracha of the baskets, it says that one first of the baskets. To mean that when you have a lot of people in the house, I'm sorry, I said it wrong. First things in the baracha, it says not the baskets. In the brachot first it says baruch privitnecha, which means the belly, the children. You're going to have many children. Blessed are you by the children, the fruits of your belly. And by having that, by having a lot of people in your house, then the next pasuk follows along, and it makes a lot of sense that you're going to have baruch tan'acha. Your your baskets will be full because you have so much mazal. Exactly. The more people you bring down, the more parnasa will be in the house. And he goes on, but I want to just more mazal. Yes, more better mazal. Now the question here is very, very striking. The Zera Shimshon doesn't mention it, but we have to mention it. In the he basically said two derashot. In the first derashah, he brought all the gemarot that said that men bring the baracha, women are only curses, chas v'shalom. But then in the second answer, he says this whole case of the widow, who's a woman, who they want to come to their house, and Rashi says, why? Because when the woman comes, even though she's a woman, more mazal comes. Hold on, you just said in the first case, no mazal by the woman. She stops the mazal. What are you talking about over here? It's contradictory. So that's why you have to answer like this. We'll end with this. Fundamental concept in all of Torah, Zohar Kadosh speaks about it many times, I'm sure you know. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created existence as we know it based on a few fundamental principles. One of those fundamental principles is Zachar v'Nekeba, male and female. Everything in the world is either a male or a female. Okay? No transgenders. Everything is either a male or a female. Even not just people, items. Every item has a Hebrew word for it, right? Hebrew word is the code through which God created the world. Every Hebrew word is either male or female. That's why people don't know Hebrew. It's hard for them to learn the language because there's so many different conjugations. There's male conjugations and female conjugations on verbs, on nouns, on everything. Why? Because it's very simple. Everything is male, female, and it goes down to the very, very great. I have so much to say on this. I don't know how much time I have.
0 and 1.
But let me explain to you like this. Zachar means male. Zachar also means zecher, memory. Zachar is the gematria baracha. The male is the input. The male is the flower. He wants to constantly give. That's why males, they have a fantasy problem. Because they want to know how many things they can knock out in one shot. How many things can I do? That's why it's so hard for them to commit to one thing, because they're multi-potential. They have so much to offer. Right? Just go look how the reproductive organs. A male seed, when he deposits, is millions of possible seed. Millions! So many possibilities. They need to try everything. But a female seed, an egg, she only releases one egg at a time per month. One!
0.
If you take a fetus, Rabbi Tatz always says this, Rabbi Kibbutz, if you take, he actually did this himself. He says all these stories, he's a doctor. So in medical school, they had the privilege, or whatever you want to call it, or not, of dissecting a fetus, a human fetus, male and female. You could already see in the female fetus, if you open up the ovaries, you can find over there, you can count by number exactly how many eggs she's going to produce in her life. Because there's these precursor cells that eventually become the egg. But by a male, you can never do that. Because they are constantly producing. The guy's 70 years old, they can still pregnate a woman. Because they're producing. They're multi-potential, endless. Baracha. What's the difference, male and female? Male, multi-potential spectrum. Endless possibilities. Female, takes one of those possibilities and makes it real. That's the difference. By male, there's so much he can offer, but in reality, he can't do everything. There's not enough time, energy, or space. You have to choose one and do it. A female, she actually takes one and does it. And so when a male deposits a seed into a female, there's millions of sperm, but how many of them actually become real? that you can hold and nurture and grow, the female egg only accepts one, takes one, but it actually brings it into reality. So that's why the word for nekeva for female is nekeva, from the word nakuv. What does nakuv mean? Fixed, limited, exact. Nakuv. Famous pasuk that proves it is when Yaakov and Lavan. Yaakov was speaking to Lavan, and they had to they're making a deal on their business. What did Lavan say? Nakva scharcha ve'etena. Nakva. Name your price, limit your price, and I'll give it. The example is, if I were to tell you, give me a price, any number, and I'll pay you that much money. Now, while you're thinking about the numbers in your head, it's going on endless, it's really, a million, a billion, a trillion. But it's only potential. The possibilities are limitless when they're potential. But once you say it, you've limited it. You've cut it off. That's it. Once you chose a number, you get no more than that. It's exactly what you get, no more. So the thought process is the male. The actuality, actualization, verbalization, choosing and finishing is a female. You can't get any more than that. You need both for anything to exist in life. You need the male aspect and the female aspect, right? That's why a woman is called nekeva, a curse. Why? Because a curse is limiting. But it's something. That's the point. A male is endless possibilities, but it's fantasy. You need a female. A male needs a female to take the male's possibilities and it'll bring some of those into life. Bring some of those into actuality. Bring it down into the real world.
Make it infinite, make it limited.
Exactly. Make it finite, but make it something. Because for something to stay infinite means it doesn't exist in this world. This world infinite does not exist. This is infinite beyond the world. In this world, it has to be finite. Everything's finite. For something to be here, it has to be finite. That power of bringing it down and making something real in your hands, tangible and feelable, that's a female power. That's why the Gemara says, the Gemara that you mentioned, it seems to contradict all this. The Gemara says, "Hasharui b'lo isha, sharui b'lo beracha." A man who's left without a woman is left without a blessing. Exactly. The male puts in the database, but the female actually creates the product. That's why the husband needs the female, to bring down the actual potentiality of the male. And that answers all these questions. That's why the guys, the orphan, the inheritors of the father wanted the female, to come to her house because the potentiality was there. But without the female in the house, nothing would actualize.
There's no food on the table. There's food in the food.
Exactly. The mazal that they had potentially in their, shamayim account was probably huge. They're the males. But you can't actually bring it down without a female to pull it down and bring it down and give birth to it and raise it and nurture it. That's what females do. You understand? There's so much more to be said here. I'll tell you one last thing about this male-female idea. I had the privilege to learn a lot of secular knowledge. Biology, microbiology, organic chemistry, physics. Really amazing things. The more I learned it, the more I saw the hand of God everywhere, and it just blew my mind. How do people, for a second, even think that everything came out of just pure coincidence? And you have to be completely abnormal.
They don't really believe
I don't know. I'm sure they don't. It's a facade.
It's very control what you learn about.
It's convenient. I know it's convenient for them. They don't want to admit to anything higher than them because then that commits them to it commits them to having to change and work on themselves, which they don't want to do. We understand. But I want to tell you something. The human body is fascinating. You can learn so much from God just by studying the human body. The human body is made of trillions of cells. Each cell is specialized to do a certain function in your body. Right? Every organ is made of certain cells for that organ. Your brain cells have neurons. They work a very special way. Your muscle cells your muscles have muscle cells. They work a very special way for you to move. Your liver cells look like liver cells. Your heart cells it's called differentiation. They all look different and work different, but they all have the same brain, so to speak. Each cell has a brain. It's called a nucleus. Inside the nucleus is the DNA of the person, the code, the genetic code. It's all in there. Every cell in your body has the same genetic code.
And the mitochondria that keeps you moving.
Yes. So if you actually open up a cell and you learn cell biology, each cell is mamash, a universe on its own. There's like billions of parts inside the cell that need to work together. There's something called organelles, which means the organs of the cell. Mitochondria is one of them. It's the powerhouse of the cell. It actually creates the energy of the cell through oxygen and water and amazing stuff. But there's many other organelles. that all work together. It's like the whole universe, the whole world, mamash, inside one cell. And you know how all those cells interact? They're not people. How do they interact? How do they, each part of the cell, each protein of the cell know what to do, where to go, and what to build in order for the function of that cell to work, for a liver cell to be a liver cell, for a heart cell to pump, and for your brain cell to think. How do you know? It all works on male-female interactions. Zachar v'nekeva. Because everything works by shape. Every protein is built based on how the DNA codes it. DNA codes for building proteins. Each protein, there's thousands and hundreds of thousands. Each protein...
And sugar may build cells.
Yes. Each protein has a function. That function is defined by its shape. Because its shape will define how it interacts with other proteins. Which means what they call it in school is they work by a lock and key mechanism. They have to fit exactly together. Just like your key fits into a keyhole to open the door. Protein A needs to fit into protein B to have a chain reaction to protein C, which fits into protein D, and then 1,000 more reactions, and you can see. Exactly. Amino acids build up the protein. But the point is, I don't call it a lock and key mechanism. I call it male and female mechanism. That's what it is. There's a male, because there's shapes. It's all shapes. Exactly. The male is the key, the woman is the... Everything in your body that you know works based on a male and female mechanism. And for the political ideologies today to challenge that, to challenge a gender ideology as we know it, to say that it's all a social construct, that it's all something we made up just because we had nothing better to do and we wanted just to be two kinds of people, males and females, it's complete baloney. It's a denial of reality. Your body in every second works on billions of male-female interactions, not other types of genders. 2 genders, male, female, that's it. I didn't make that up. The creator of the world did. It goes down to that. So Baruch Hashem, it all makes sense. We see. I'm very happy we got to speak about this topic. It's a fundamental topic, male and female, going into the next year. B'ezrat Hashem, Kadosh Baruch Hu should give us beracha, b'tzlacha b'chol ma'aseh yadinu v'chen yirah, so amen.